Have you ever felt your thoughts spinning so fast that even rest feels like work? And have you ever wondered why the mind keeps searching for certainty in a world that never stays the same? Welcome back to the channel. Tonight I want to offer you a long, gentle stream of Zen stories and Buddhist reflections designed to relax the mind, while also planting seeds of awakening wisdom, karma, compassion, practice, and a calmer relationship with destiny. Not a performance and not a lecture, more like sitting beside a quiet river in the dark, while the water keeps moving and your breathing slowly remembers how to be simple. Let us begin with one clear understanding. Mental relaxation is not only the absence of noise. Real relaxation is the release of inner gripping. The mind grips when it believes it must control everything. It grips when it believes it must prove worth. It grips when it believes it must solve the future tonight. Zen does not argue with that mind. Zen bows to its fear and then shows it another way. There was once a traveler named Kai who carried a small bag everywhere. The bag was not heavy in weight but heavy in meaning. Kai said the bag contained what he needed to be safe. He did not show anyone what was inside. He just held it close like a promise. Kai lived in a busy town where people moved fast and talked faster. He worked hard and did well. But at night when the lights went down, his mind stayed on. His thoughts felt like birds trapped in a room. They hit the walls again and again. He tried to force them to stop. He tried distraction. He tried to calculate every possible future. He tried to rehearse every conversation. But the more he tried to control, the more exhausted he became. One evening, Kai heard about a small Zen temple on the edge of the town. People said the place was quiet and plain. No drama and no selling of miracles. Kai did not think of himself as spiritual. He just wanted one night of real rest. He arrived near sunset. A bell sounded softly in the distance. A breeze moved through bamboo. The air smelled like clean wooden drain on stone. A monk greeted him with a simple nod and asked what brought him here. Kai almost laughed because the answer felt too big for words. He said, "I cannot relax. My mind keeps racing. I want peace." The monk did not correct him or shame him. The monk said, "Follow me." They walked to a small courtyard where a shallow pond reflected the sky. The monk pointed to the pond and said, "What do you see?" Kai said, "Water in the sky." The monk said, "Look again." Kai saw a few leaves floating. He saw ripples moving outward from a small insect touching the surface. He saw the reflection shift and then return. The monk said, "The mind is like this water. If you strike it and then strike it again, it never becomes clear. If you let it be, it clears by itself." Kai frowned and said, "But I cannot let it be." The monk smiled and said, "That is the first lesson. You cannot force letting be. You practice returning. You practice patience. You practice compassion toward your own restlessness." That night, the monk invited Kai to sit in the meditation hall. No special posture required. Just a stable seat and a gentle spine. Kai sat among a few others. The room was simple. The only sound was breath and the faint creak of wood. Kai tried to follow his breath. Immediately thoughts rose like a crowd. Work, family, regrets, plans. The mind shouted that meditation was failing. But then he remembered the pond. Strike it and it stays stirred. Let it be and it clears. A thought came saying this is pointless. He noticed it. Another thought came saying you are doing it wrong. He noticed it. He did not win against them. He did not lose to them. He simply saw them. Then he returned to breath. This small return is the seed of awakening. Awakening begins when you realize that thoughts are events, not commands and not identity. Zen calls this a direct seeing. Not complicated, just honest. After the sitting, the monk offered Kai a cup of warm tea. They sat by a small window. Kai said I still had many thoughts. The monk said good. Kai looked confused. The monk said you saw them. That is different from being them. Then the monk asked about the bag. Kai held it tighter. The monk did not reach for it. He only asked what is inside. Kai hesitated, then answered, "Inside are the things I fear losing. A photo of someone I loved, a letter from my father, a small notebook of plans, a list of regrets, a few objects that remind me of who I should be." The monk nodded slowly. He said, "You carry the bag to protect what matters, but the bag also protects your suffering, because clinging to what matters can become clinging to control, and clinging to control creates tension in the body and noise in the mind." Kai felt exposed and almost defensive. The monk continued with kindness. He said, "Do not throw the bag away. That would be violence. Instead, learn when to put it down." Kai stayed at the temple for a few days. During that time, he heard stories that did not feel like moral lessons. They felt like mirrors. Each story was simple on the surface and deep underneath. And each story pointed again and again to the same spiritual roots: awakening, wisdom, karma, compassion, practicing the way destiny shifts through daily intention. One morning, the monk told Kai's end story about a farmer and a horse. A farmer lost his horse and the neighbors said, "How terrible." The farmer said, "Maybe." The horse returned bringing wild horses and the neighbors said, "How wonderful." The farmer said, "Maybe." The farmer's son tried to ride one of the wild horses and broke his leg and the neighbors said, "How terrible." The farmer said, "Maybe." Then soldiers came to recruit young men for war and the son was spared because of the broken leg and the neighbors said, "How wonderful." The farmer said, "Maybe." Kai heard the story and smiled politely. It sounded like clever advice, but that night he realized what it was pointing to. The mind suffers when it labels every change as final, good forever or bad forever, safe forever or ruined forever. But life moves. Causes and conditions unfold. What seems like loss can become protection. What seems like gain can become burden. Zen does not demand you pretend things do not hurt. Zen invites you to relax your grip on the story that says you already know what everything means. This is wisdom. Wisdom is not only intelligence. Wisdom is the ability to remain open inside uncertainty. That openness is the beginning of peace. Another date, I helped sweep leaves in the courtyard. It was ordinary work. The monk swept slowly and calmly. Kai swept quickly, as if trying to finish. The monk asked, "Why you rush?" Kai said, "I want to get it done." The monk said, "Why?" Kai laughed and said, "So I can relax." The monk paused and said, "If you cannot relax while sweeping, you will not relax after sweeping." Kai felt something land inside him. He realized he had been postponing peace his whole life. When this is finished, then I will rest. When that is solved, then I will be calm. When I am approved, then I will feel safe. But the mind always creates another when. The monk said the practice is to bring your whole attention into the action. Feel the broom, feel the feet, feel the breath. The leaves do not argue about where they should be. They just move with wind. Do not become a leaf. Become the one who can move with wind. This is a Zen way of describing equanimity, a steady heart that can meet change without collapsing, not numbness, steadiness with warmth. That night, Kai slept a little better, not because his life was solved, but because his nervous system felt less attacked from within. On the third day, the monk told Kai another's end story. A student asked a teacher how to find liberation. The teacher said, "Show me your mind and I will free it." The student said, "I cannot find my mind." The teacher said, "Then it is already free." Kai did not understand at first. He thought mind was obvious. It was the voice in his head. But as he continued to sit quietly, he began to see the difference between thoughts and awareness. Thoughts move like clouds. Awareness is the open sky in which clouds pass. When you recognize awareness, you stop treating every thought as a courtroom verdict. You start seeing thought as weather. That recognition can relax the deepest tension because it reveals you are not trapped inside the storm. You can watch it. This is awakening, not mystical fireworks. A practical shift from being dragged to seeing clearly. Now let us move into a series of Zen stories designed to calm you as you listen. I will speak slowly, as if we are walking through a quiet hallway in the mind. Each story is a small lamp. You can take what helps and leave what does not. But if you stay with the feeling underneath the stories, you may notice your body softening and your breathing becoming deeper. There was a young woman named Hannah who felt guilty all the time. She was kind and responsible. She cared for family. She worked hard, but she carried a hidden belief. If I do not worry, I am careless. So she worried constantly. She worried about people she loved. She worried about mistakes she had not made yet. She worried about being judged. And then she worried about worrying. Hannah went to see a Zen teacher and said, "I cannot stop worrying." The teacher gave her a small clay cup filled with water and said, "Hold this carefully and follow me." Hannah followed the teacher through the garden. They walked past stones and trees and small flowers. The teacher spoke about ordinary things. The weather, the sound of birds, the taste of tea. Hannah was confused because she expected deep answers, but the teacher kept walking and talking. After a while, Hannah's arm began to shake. She tried to keep the water from spilling. She became tense. Her shoulder hurt. Her breath became shallow. She could barely listen to the teacher. Finally, Hannah said, "My arm hurts." The teacher said, "Why?" Hannah said, "Because I am holding this cup." The teacher said, "Put it down." Hannah put it down and felt immediate relief. The teacher said, "Your worry is like this. You hold it because you believe it is necessary. But the longer you hold it, the more it hurts. And the hurt makes you believe you must hold it even tighter. Put it down." Hannah said, "How?" The teacher said, "The same way you put down the cup. You notice you are holding. Then you release. Then you return to what is in front of you." Hannah practiced that night. When a worry rose, she named it holding. Then she breathed and released her jaw and shoulders. Then she returned to sensation, blanket on skin, breath moving, sound in the room. She did not become perfectly calm, but she discovered she could put worry down for a few seconds, then a few more, then a minute. And those small moments changed her nights. This is practice. Practice is not one big victory. It is many small releases. From the Buddhist view, this is also karma. Every time you feed the worry loop, you strengthen it. Every time you release and return, you strengthen a new path. Over time, the mind learns what it repeatedly does. Destiny is not only what happens to you. Destiny is also the shape your mind takes through repeated intention. Another story. A man named Tomas was angry at his brother for years. He said it was justified, and maybe it was. But the anger was not only in the past. It lived in Tomas' body every day. It tightened his chest. It sharpened his words. It made him suspicious. It stole his sleep. Tomas went to a Zen monastery and asked a monk how to forgive. The monk asked, "Do you want peace?" Tomas said, "Yes, but my brother does not deserve it." The monk said, "You do not forgive because someone deserves it. You forgive because you deserve freedom." Tomas argued. The monk listened. Then the monk said, "Tell me where the anger lies." Tomas pointed to his chest. The monk said, "Place your hand there. Breathe. Feel the heat. Do not label it as right or wrong. Just feel it." Tomas did not want to, but he tried. He felt the anger as heat and tightness. He noticed underneath the heat there was hurt, and underneath the hurt there was love that had been disappointed. He began to cry without expecting to. The monk said, "Anger is often pain that has not been held with compassion. If you want to stop anger, you do not only change the story, you also care for the wound." Tomas practiced sitting with the sensation of anger without feeding the story. Each time the story returned, he noticed it and returned to breath. He also practiced loving kindness, not as a performance, as a medicine. "May I be free from this burning. May my brother be free from confusion. May we both find wisdom." He did not become naive. He did not excuse harmful behavior. He set boundaries, but his heart became less poisoned. This is the middle way. Compassion with wisdom, soft heart with clear boundaries. As Tomas softened, he noticed his sleep improved, because the mind cannot rest while it is holding a weapon. Letting go of hatred is a kind of deep relaxation. Another story. A student named May asked his Zen teacher how to stop feeling not good enough. The teacher asked, "What is not good enough?" May said, "Me." The teacher said, "Show me the me that is not good enough." May looked confused. She said, "I feel it." The teacher said, "Feeling is real, but the story about what the feeling means is not always true." The teacher took May to a river. He pointed to the water and said, "That river is always changing, yet you call it one river. You are like that. Your thoughts change, your moods change, your body changes, but you cling to a fixed image called me. Then you judge that image is not enough." May asked, "What do I do?" The teacher said, "When the thought not enough appears, do not argue. Do not obey. Notice it. Return to breath. Then offer compassion to the part that is afraid." The teacher said, "The mind says not enough because it fears rejection. So answer with kindness. May I be safe. May I be steady. May I learn." This kindness is not weakness. It is courage, because it refuses to continue the cycle of inner violence. May practiced for weeks. Slowly the inner harshness softened. She still had standards. She still worked hard, but she stopped needing perfection as proof of worth. This is a crucial in relaxation. The deepest tension many people carry is not from events. It is from inner self-attack. When self-attack stops, the body finally believes it is allowed to rest. Now let us enter a longer Zen story that unfolds like a quiet movie. A widower named Elias lived alone in a small house. His wife had died 2 years earlier. Friends invited him to gatherings, but he often declined. He said he was fine, but at night he felt a hollow ache. He would sit in a chair and watch the clock. Sleep felt like a door he could not open. Elias began listening to Zen stories late at night. At first he listened only to fill silence, but gradually he noticed the stories were not just entertainment. They were mirrors. They reflected his own clinging, his own fear, his own inner arguments with life. One night, Elias heard a story about a monk who carried a candle through a windy path. The monk protected the flame with his hands. He was determined not to let it go out, but the wind was strong and the monk became exhausted. Finally, he arrived at a shelter and set the candle down. Then he saw that the shelter already had a fire. He had been fighting the wind to protect the flame while a larger warmth was already available. Elias felt tears. He realized he had been fighting grief alone. He had been protecting his pain like a candle, afraid that if he put it down he would betray love. But love does not require suffering as proof. Love can remain while the heart heals. The next day, Elias visited a small Zen center. He sat quietly with others. He felt awkward and old. He felt like an outsider, but he stayed. After the sitting, an older practitioner spoke with him. The practitioner said, "Grief is love moving through impermanence. When we accept impermanence, grief can become tender rather than bitter." Elias asked how to accept. The practitioner said, "Stop demanding that the past return, and stop demanding that the future be certain. Return to what is real now. Breath, body, kindness. One small act today. That is practice." Elias began to do one small act each day. He watered a plant. He walked for 10 minutes. He called one friend. He cooked a simple meal. He did these acts mindfully, not rushing, feeling each movement. Gradually, his nights changed, not immediately, but subtly. He stopped treating the night as an enemy. He began to treat it as a quiet space where he could be gentle with himself. When sadness came, he did not fight it. He placed a hand on his chest and breathed. He whispered words of kindness. "May I be steady. May I be held by this breath. May my heart soften." He extended kindness outward. "May others who are grieving tonight find peace." This moved him from isolation to connection. From a Buddhist view, compassion transforms suffering because it breaks the spell of separateness. When you realize many beings feel pain, your heart opens. And an open heart can rest even while it aches. Elias still missed his wife. That did not vanish, but the missing became less sharp. It became more like a quiet music. He began to remember her with gratitude rather than only loss. He began to feel that his remaining life could still be meaningful, not by replacing love, but by living with wisdom shaped by love. This is destiny becoming lighter, not because fate changed, but because the heart changed how it met fate. That is the deep Buddhist point about destiny. You cannot control all conditions, but you can cultivate the inner conditions of wisdom and compassion. Those inner conditions change the quality of every moment. Now I want to guide you through a Zen relaxation story designed to settle the nervous system as you listen. Imagine a night traveler walking along the path under moonlight. The traveler hears sounds in the dark and the mind imagines danger. The traveler speeds up. Breath becomes shallow. Shoulders tighten. The traveler sees a shape on the ground and jumps back. It looks like a snake. Heart races. Then, the traveler brings a lantern closer. It is only a rope. This story is simple, but its teaching is deep. At night, the mind sees rope and calls it snake. Uncertainty is the rope. Thought is the mind painting it into a snake. Mindfulness is bringing the lantern closer. You do not need to yell at the snake. You need to see clearly. In Zen, the lantern is attention in the body. Feel the breath. Feel the weight of the blanket. Feel the contact of your back with the bed. Listen to sound without labeling it as threat. Let the senses anchor you. When a thought arises, you do not fight it. You acknowledge it. You return. This returning is the rhythm of practice. And practice is the bridge between wisdom and relaxation. Many people assume relaxation means nothing is wrong. But Zen relaxation is deeper. It means even if something is wrong, the heart can remain steady, because it is not adding extra suffering through endless mental struggle. Now another Zen story about emptiness. A scholar visited a Zen master and asked for teachings. The master poured tea into the scholar's cup. He poured and poured until the cup overflowed. The scholar shouted, "Stop, the cup is full." The master said, "Your mind is like this cup. It is full of ideas and opinions and anxieties. If you want to receive new understanding, you must first empty the cup." Empty does not mean you become blank. It means you release the tight grip of certainty. You allow not knowing. You allow openness. This is one reason Zen can feel so calming. Because the mind that needs to know everything cannot rest. The mind that allows not knowing becomes spacious. Spacience feels like breathing room inside the chest. If you are listening tonight and the future feels heavy, try a simple inner sentence. I allow not knowing right now. I allow this moment to be enough. Then return to breath. This is not denial. It is wisdom. Because the future cannot be held in the hand. Only the next breath can be held. Only the next kind action can be chosen. Now let us look at karma through a Zen lens without superstition. Karma is the shape of cause and effect in the heart. When you practice harshness, you become harsh. When you practice patience, you become patient. When you practice generosity, you become freer. When you practice resentment, you become tight. Zen stories often show this without explaining it. A monk insulted another monk. The insulted monk did not react. The first monk became angry and said, "Why are you not angry?" The second monk said, "If you offer a gift and I do not accept it, who does it belong to?" The first monk fell silent. This story is about inner freedom. If someone offers you poison, you do not have to drink it, but you can only refuse it if you are mindful. If you react automatically, you accept the poison. That is karma in action. Reaction plants seeds of more reaction. Mindful response plants seeds of peace. This is also compassion, because refusing poison does not require hatred. It requires clarity and boundaries. Now I want to speak in a very human way about aging and relaxation. Many listeners come to Zen teachings later in life, when the body changes and sleep becomes lighter, when loss becomes more present, when the mind has more time to replay the past. Zen does not try to cheer you up with fake promises. Zen offers a sober kindness. Everything changes, so do not waste your remaining days gripping what cannot be held. Use them to cultivate a warm, wise heart. There was an elder named Jun who lived near the temple. Jun walked slowly with a cane. A young visitor asked him, "Are you not afraid of getting older?" Jun smiled and said, "I am afraid sometimes." Then he said something surprising. He said, "Aging is the temple bell. It reminds me to wake up." The visitor asked, "What do you mean?" Jun said, "When I was young, I thought time was endless. So I argued more. I postponed forgiveness. I chased recognition. Now I see time is precious. So I choose peace sooner. I choose kindness sooner. I do not carry unnecessary grudges. I do not cling to being right. I do not cling to proving myself." This is not resignation. This is liberation. Jun said the body may weaken, but wisdom can deepen. Compassion can widen, and those are real strengths. If you are older listening tonight, or if you love someone who is older, this teaching matters, because many people suffer not only from physical changes, but from the story that aging means uselessness. Zen rejects that story. Zen sees the elder years as a season for ripening, for releasing what is not essential, for living with a simpler, more honest heart. Now let us return to Kai the traveler from the beginning. On the last day at the temple, Kai prepared to leave. The monk walked with him to the gate. Kai carried the bag as usual, but something was different. The bag was no longer fused with his identity. It was just a bag. Kai asked the monk one final question: "How do I keep this calm when I return to my busy life?" The monk said, "Do not try to keep calm. Calm is not an object you can carry. Instead, keep practicing the return." The monk said, "Every day you will be pulled by thoughts. Return. You will be pulled by fear. Return. You will be pulled by craving and comparison. Return. You will be pulled by anger. Return." Each return is a small awakening, and many awakenings become a stable mind. Kai asked, "Return to what?" The monk said, return to breath, return to the body, return to compassionate intention, return to what is true right now. Kai nodded. He felt both hope and humility, because he understood that the path was not a trick. It was practice. Kai went back to town. The noise returned. Work demands, messages, uncertainty. But he noticed something. He now had a pause, a small space before reaction. He could feel his shoulders tighten and then release them. He could feel his jaw clenched, then soften. He could notice a worry thought and label it as worry. He could take one practical step and then stop feeding the loop. When a colleague criticized him, Kai felt he tries. He wanted to defend himself. He paused. He breathed. He chose words that were honest but not sharp. Afterward, he felt proud in a quiet way, not proud of winning, proud of practicing. This is karma again. The seed of mindful response produced the fruit of peace. At night, Kai still had some restless moments, but he used the pond teaching. He stopped striking the water with more thought. He allowed the water to settle by returning to breath. When the mind became loud, he placed a hand on his chest and offered kindness to himself. May I be steady. May I be at ease. May I release what I cannot control. He extended the goodwill outward. May others who cannot sleep tonight find peace. This turned his loneliness into compassion. And compassion's often the nervous system. Over months, Kai began to feel something he had not felt in years. A natural flow. Not because life became easy, but because he stopped blocking life with constant inner resistance. He started cooperating with impermanence instead of fighting it. He started choosing wise actions instead of endless thinking. He started caring deeply without clinging. This is the Zen balance. Warm-hearted, open hand. Now I want to close with a reflection that may touch you personally. Many of us have spent years believing that tension equals responsibility, that worry equals love, that overthinking equals intelligence. But Zen teaches another possibility. Responsibility can be calm, love can be steady, intelligence can be simple, and peace can exist even in an imperfect world. If you take only one thing from tonight, take this. You do not need to solve your whole life to rest for one breath. Take one breath, then another. Notice one thought. Let it pass. Return. Offer one moment of kindness to yourself. That is practice, and practice is the path. Thank you for being here with me tonight. If a Zen story or a simple teaching in this video helped your mind feel even a little lighter, please share your experience in the comments. Your words may help someone else who is listening in the dark. Please subscribe to the channel and like the video to support these long, calm teachings. And if you want to support the channel more deeply, consider becoming a member so we can continue creating gentle sessions you can return to whenever you need quiet wisdom and compassionate rest.